it's a really, really nasty problem because we don't have that visibility that we've lost. So if complexity is the enemy of security, what does abstracted simplicity give me, right? Where it's all hidden. Right? That's even worse problem to me as a security professional. I want to be able to understand, even at an abstract layer, what's going on, and I can't. So to make it worse, we have a bunch of developers who want to rightfully be able to point, click, and deploy from an IDE. They don't want to care about infrastructure. They shouldn't have to. To them, things like cloud is just a platform with API and interfaces and somewhere to host their code with a socket to write to the network. And that's fair enough, right? They don't want to think any differently, and nor should they really from that perspective. The interesting problem here is that metastructure should be transparent. So they write to a socket and away it goes, and they just expect stuff to work. So the applications are kind of engineered separately from the stuff that binds them to the infrastructure. So if infrastructure breaks infostructure and metastructure breaks infostructure, then what you end up with is a game of rock, paper, scissors. Right? We have these dependencies between how we programmatically address this stuff, which again, if you think about what platform as a service gives you, when it kind of unifies infrastructure and platform, there's a really good opportunity to fix some things that today, for example, we don't do a good job of. But to make things more confusing, when we think about the availability of a service or an application, we typically, we usually blame the firewall when something stops, right? But the reality is, it gets very difficult when you start to think about root cause analysis and who's to blame and who owns failure in cloud. So a great example is this. So Bitbucket. Bitbucket was is a source code repository where people write code and check it in and uses cloud services. In fact, it's based on Amazon. And so they were down for almost 20 hours, right? And there was this thing in the background is their blog detailing and chronicling the entire event about why they were down. At the end of the day, what they noticed in this highlighted portion that I put up here on the screen is that they were essentially a victim of a massively scaled DDoS attack. Okay? On a network that, from their opinion, and in some cases how it's marketed, should not be victim to a DDoS attack. I'm supposed to be protected from these sorts of things. Now, there is an ownership issue here between if you run a single instance or a couple of instances only, and you expect to be resilient against hundreds of megabits of traffic, whose fault is that? Is that the provider's? Is it yours? Did you think this through? The reality is there's some shared issues here about who owns this failure, where the lines get drawn, how things are responded to, how you do incident response, how you've architected your network. So the reality is, I make the point that if you single source your provider, you are just as at risk and going to have your ass handed to you on a plate one day because you are not thinking and building architecture. You assume the cloud's going to take care of it for you, and it doesn't necessarily. So when you looked at this, people kind of grappled for what the answer to this problem was. Let's blame Amazon. Let's blame Bitbucket. Well, the reality is Benjamin Black made a great statement. He said, marketing is not a root cause. If you believe what you hear, then you deserve it. Fair enough. So we'll go up the stack a little bit, and we'll think about things that you might not think about in terms of, why I might be presenting them at the infrastructure, the apps, content, and data level, but they might make a little bit more sense. So people think about cloud, and they say, oh, well, either they have the opinion that nothing changes when we talk about app security, web app security, or everything changes because it's cloud. Right? In some cases, we see N-tier application development get a little bit fuzzy in terms of where these tiers might exist and how they intercommunicate, and it's the kind of the revenge of the dark Sith Lord of service-oriented architecture. Right? They figure out, everything's different, but in some cases, everything is the same. So the point here is if you don't have mature practices when it comes to your development of either non-web apps or web applications, and you launch and you deploy on an environment that is connected to the internet and the cloud, you still have to fix your security, right? In many cases, we can't lean on crutches like web application firewalls to do filtering because they don't exist in cloud environments in many cases. So information exfiltration with an anonymous source, with anonymous connectivity, instead of being able to chop down who has access to your data, now the potential is if you misconfigure something very easily, you set up the wrong security zone, you don't put an appropriate filter in place, the ability or capability to have your information exfiltrated gets even larger. I like this illustration because you might think about botnets as being kind of an infrastructure issue, but today, if I'm a bot master and I want to build a huge botnet army, I compromise what? your end nodes, your PCs, right? I have to go through a lot of work. I have to make you do things like go to a porn site and click on something, a drive-by attack, right? I send you an email. It's a lot of work. Well, what if I just steal a bunch of credit cards and I go to my favorite infrastructure as a service provider and I say, yes, please, here are 400 different accounts I've just set up. Each one of them I'm going to auto-scale 100 different machines that are capable of generating, I don't know, a couple hundred megs of traffic each, right? I don't care that if this attack lasts 5 minutes, I'll just keep ping-ponging and scaling them up, and you don't know whether I'm a good guy or a bad guy because you don't know John Smith from Tom, Dick, and Harry, right? So I can build a massively scalable botnet in a matter of minutes if I so desired. And you think about the application of what that means to security and how we counter things like malware and botnets, you start thinking, ugh, this platform in all of its agility and flexibility is wonderful, but it also yields interesting application challenges of another sort. So we've all heard about click fraud, right? And there's various ways of generating click fraud, either with people or now with malware. In fact, the study has shown that a lot of the malware, the click fraud is coming from malware that's doing it instead of people doing it. Well, I came up with this theory of instead of DDoS, distributed denial of service attacks, I call it EDOS, economic denial of sustainability. So in an environment where you use a cloud provider that charges you based on compute, network, and storage usage, could you imagine if you're my competitor and I set up either a botnet, internal or external, and I make it even low and slow, but I generate enough background traffic to drive your utilization up and your build, and you say, this is awesome, my marketing campaign is working, and you auto-scale. And that bill that you were expecting for $200 with offset revenue from your purchases, but for which you don't have good end-to-end instrumentation and telemetry to see that somebody that came in the front door actually bought something in the back door, at the end of the month, when you get your bill for $20,000, how are you going to pay that? Right? So this notion of the extension of cloud as a platform enabling things like click fraud is incredibly frightening. Right? So these are kind of shiny bits, interesting things to talk about. But I reference back to the first point in terms of web application security and application security. You know what? We still have, look at the OWASP top 10, right? Buffer overflows, you're kidding me. SQL injection, right? Why have we not fixed these things? It's just, it's mind-boggling, right? We continue, even with SDLC, even with the great work you guys have done over the years in SDLC, we still have the other problem, the ISVs that Andy referred to. So this is really still problematic. And then you look at kind of a layer 8 problem, which is this notion of kind of how cloud services and policies are governed. And I like this. This isn't infrastructure as a service, it's a software as a service offering. But there was a little kind of blurb on the Google support site. Hey, I just want to let you guys know, you might not see this anywhere else, but in 2 weeks, we're changing our policy. Anything that you link to externally, accidentally or on purpose, or that somebody else does, just the link, just the URL. If that is linked to externally, it is now crawlable by Google. So your private Google Docs that used to be private, if somebody has shared the link outside and it is crawlable and they put it on a website, now crawlable. I was very interested the other day when I saw a news story that that Google voicemail messages were now, the transcriptions, were now crawlable. Well, it's only crawlable because somebody decided to share the link, and that's a feature. Oh, I want to make voicemail available to you. So if you do that, and you're unaware of the ramifications of a policy change at this level, all of a sudden, all the security controls, all the exfiltration guards, all of the security manifestations that you put in place go bye-bye. Has nothing to do with controls or platforms or governance. It's one stupid click. Share this, please. Okay. So this is really, really interesting. Another turtle, right? The other thing I have a real problem with is something I call misinfostructure, or infocalypse, right? The reality is you have these Web 2.0 apps done by some dude who eats pizza and drinks way too much caffeine, scales, gets a valuation of $47 billion, has a service that all of us use. It's really kind of crappy architecture, built on even crappier architecture that isn't even cloud. It gets confused in that consumer sentiment with being cloud, and then what you get is what I got yesterday morning, which was, ha-ha, it's overcapacity. That doesn't happen in cloud, does it? Infinite scale. Well, the problem is, by setting expectations that everything is cloud, when that happens, people go, oh man, that sucks. The consumers do it, but what's even more funny is when the providers do it. Because the providers, as cloud providers, you can't have it both ways. You cannot tell me that you have service superiority and availability, better security, better performance and cost, and then give me 1990s SLAs, give me outages and breaches, give me a really lacking level of support, unless I want to pay more for it, but then tell me, you know, guys, We're just IT. We're just IT, fluffier, fluffier looking version of IT. They go down, so we can too. Your expectations are just too high. But we're still better, so you should still use us. Really confusing set of